I just thought I would just kick off by going international collaboration. Is it worth it?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Short answer.
Then we're done.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Yeah.
So, ladies, would you maybe just like to just tell us a little bit about the process of collaborating together with Strange Feathers and just how you came together and what the process entailed?
Yes, we've got like a little timeline because it's quite interesting. And Julianne's here to help. Just the presentation.
There's our hashtags as well, if anyone would like to tweet. Sure, we can get a conversation started outside the room as well. It's up there. We are Baboró and Baboró 2017.
So we're really, really happy to be invited to take Strange Feathers to Barra this year. It's always really nice to do it as part of a children's festival. And this is me and Tinna. We are performers, so this is our moment to want to be the performers, even though we're the co-choreographers of the show. We have our two performers here, Katla from Iceland and Eibhlín from Ireland. This is their costume. And Fidget Feet, which you heard of. Bird in the Bat, Iceland. So this is to answer to the question. So basically, I knew that I wanted to make work for early years, but I was very nervous because I hadn't done it before. So when the opportunity came up to apply to go to India as part of a project called The Next Generation, which is about younger people, we pretend to be younger, that could go to India and basically see lots of work and then hang out with about 20-30 other artists and just talk for like 5 days. So this was the fun that we had. I was late and the first person I sat beside was Tinna. So I introduced myself and said, hi, I'm from Ireland. And she said, hi, I'm from Iceland. And then nearly jumped down because I was so excited. My aim was to go to India and try and find a collaborator. And the moment I sat down, there was Tinna. So we basically hit it off from then. Yeah, we were like the dancers, so we always had food and we always we were very into that. But yeah, no, it was fairly right from the start. And what Tinna just said, because we'd spent so much time together and went to see so much work together, we already knew what we liked and what kind of like made us excited as artists. And so Tinna there's been a lot of babies during this process. Tinna was actually pregnant at the time in India. And then the next one. Yeah, that's the festival. So we hope to go back there. And then, so what happened then is that I managed to get like an Arts Council bursary. So basically, when we met, we knew we wanted to make something together. I love Iceland. I'd been there and performed there a few times, and Tinna wanted to come to Ireland. So I went back to Ireland straight away, put in an application, and with that first grant, it allowed Tinna to come over and visit us in Donegal and actually see a piece that we were touring, the Alice and the Shoemaker, with her baby. Yeah. Yes. And I was pregnant, and then I was pregnant. And so then that fund also then allowed us to bring Eibhlín and Jim, the other collaborator of Fidget Feet, over to Iceland to meet and start working and the 2 weeks of research. So it was the first time that Ash and Katla met. But me and Jim had met Katla before, so we knew she was a dancer and an aerialist, so we knew that they would love each other.
And there you also met for the first time the co-composer and the set designer that are from Belfast, the Icelandic part of the team.
And that's kind of what we feel has been the most successful part of it. It was a real co-collaboration. So we co-choreographed Icelandic and Irish, co-performed, and then the composer was Icelandic and the musician was Irish, the set designer was Icelandic, and then the costume maker was Irish. So it really felt like it was really two cultures coming together, and that worked a treat. And then we were really happy Riverbank Arts Centre secured funding from the Arts Council and agreed to produce the show with Fidget Feet. So that's a really important moment for us when we're planning, and to be able to get a venue, which meant they gave us funding. They also gave us the space, so we knew we could have the production week there and time there, and also that we could premiere there. So that was a really great moment, and they came up with lots of different ideas of how to get the money that we needed to make the show. So they used some of their exhibition money so that we could do an exhibition as part of the show to be able to raise the funds. Everything is kind of done like a little jigsaw, 10 grand here, 15 grand here, you know, make it happen. And then Fidget Feet got money from Culture Ireland, which allowed us to go to Iceland and take the show to 3 different places. So that's kind of what me and Tinna were saying is the Icelandic and the Irish funding seem to kind of work together, because we were able to get money to go to Iceland to tour and get research money and a small commission from Riverbank, but not money to make
Salaries and the production money. That's kind of what we...
And what Tinna loved is our very first meeting together in Donegal, when we did a really long journey down to Limerick with her little baby. The first thing I did is like, right, let's do the first budget. So budgets. It's not going to happen unless you know what you need and then beg and knock on everybody's door. Yeah, basically. This we thought is a great image. So one of the shows that we had to do in the north of Iceland, you know, they never have aerial or anything like that. We walked in. I was on the phone dealing with something else, and it was like, okay, so how are we going to rig in here and do the show? But we did. So we just wanted to share that moment that we make the impossible possible. And then this was a really proud moment for us both to have a big poster. And and we have it now in Ireland. We took it back with us to Ireland for the exhibition. And so this was the premiere, the 17th of September. So you can kind of see the timeline of how long it took us to get to this point. This is us on tour in Iceland with my baby. And then we came back to Ireland after a really crazy day of trying to get all the kit packed the right size. We had to cut a little bit of the tent to make sure that it could fit. So that's the moment when the collaboration really kicks in, when you're dealing with problems on the spot. And Tinna could really talk to the flight people through her Icelandic, and we're trying to make it work because we had to get the stuff for this. So we had to fly with it. So 10 suitcases later. Then, as we said, in Ireland, the touring grant system is amazing, and Fidget Feet's done many, many tours, so it was great. We were able to apply for a touring grant, and we toured to 14 venues, 64 shows, and got 4-star reviews. And then, and that's all our funders to make it happen. And now, as you see us, we're touring right now, so because we knew we had a gig here in Baboró, then we built this second leg of the tour around those dates, and magically we're going to the Ark in Dublin this year, but both of those are sold out, sorry. But this is really nice. This is a child that come to see one of the shows that we did, and then we've just come from Dunamay, so this was one of the schools. So after the Ophelia storm, the schools managed to come on the Tuesday, and this is their feedback. And the theatre was also really happy, and we hadn't been back to Dunamays for like about 4 years. So I think what it's really apparent is because we both used each other's funding bodies, we had so much time to make this beautiful show together. So when we watch it, we just remember the fun times that we had. And then with Tinna's experience in making work for young people and us collaborating together with my aerial experience, we really felt like we've made something for that age, for that 18 months to 7 years. When we started first, we thought we would make it 1 till 5, but then what happened when we did a sharing and Aisling came to see it and she brought her children, she was like, my kids really liked it. And then we noticed the 1-year-olds didn't. So it's really important as you're going through the process to get what age group. So now it's 18 months to 7. And so that's been great.
Yeah, kind of a big...
Yeah.
And we've done probably sharings in every place we've ever been to. So we were maybe working in Iceland for a week in North Iceland, and we did at least 2 sharings, both for the teenagers and the small kids, just to check it out, check out how the teenagers were responding.
Yeah. And already just before we came here on Monday during the storm, we put in another application to Culture Ireland, and that we're hoping to do a Nordic tour in the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Denmark, and Greenland and Norway. And anyone else that'll have us. And next one, I think it's the last one now.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So then just the slides.
Thank you very much, ladies.
I think she's got a little
So
bit
it's
more.
so it was about 2.5 years,
Yes.
4 babies, and then we were ready to premiere. So it's kind of quite fairly quick, I would say, for like being in a, or like the right amount of time. Because although sometimes what I was thinking about it, sometimes as a negative thing is when you're living far away and then you kind of lose track. You start something, you work for a week, and then you go home, and then you kind of forget about it, and you're like, what's this project really about? But it also gives the performers time to get to know each other really well, even though they're not together, you know, they stay in touch. So it was this, both a positive and a negative thing of taking a little bit of time and not just working for 6 weeks and then premiere. So it everybody got to become best friends, I feel like, almost. Like there's a lot of respect and a lot of friendship going on. The unexpected pluses of the collaboration was I knew it would be fun, you know, just meeting Chantal for 1 week in India. It was just apparent that this is going to be fun. So, but what were like the unexpected things were the shared responsibility that came so easily for me. So it made the rehearsals feel light and easy, and there was always somebody there to take charge. So when she had to go off to a phone call, or somebody was out there breastfeeding or something, you know, there was always somebody in charge. But it made it feel kind of calm and easy. I hope they agree. Chaotic at times, but also kind of nice. I had just come out of a solo project at that time where I was working with one performer, just me. So that's like a lot can become heavy in a studio. So this was really nice. And the budget, it was so much easier if you're doing an international collaboration. You can get money from 2 places. Everybody tends to know their country, so you know what you can get. And suddenly she comes with totally different ways of funding things. So even though the budget gets much bigger, it's easier to make it happen. I think it was about 50-50 from Iceland and Ireland, about, you know, the cost split about 50-50. And at least the Icelandic funding institution, they loved it. They love that somebody, like, they can look at the budget and, you know, can see the ministry going like, oh yes, they're bringing in a lot of money from Ireland, I'll give her even a little bit more. So that was kind of like, I felt how it worked with that. Yeah, there was this wonderful collaborative spirit, and we were always doing premiere, sleeping in the set. That's you and Jim. Yeah. So we were always trying to do something, because you have somebody flying over to your country and, you know, showing people around. So we ended up going to the theatre together in nice restaurants and the Museum of Horticulture somewhere in the middle of Ireland.
Kildare.
Yeah. Like this. But these weird and lovely happenings that kind of just happen when you're touring or meeting new people, and you're trying to be so respectful, you just kind of follow along. But that's the weird experiences that make, you know, art happen also. And then, and then I've written down, there was this thing that happened between the 2 performers, that they kind of just kicked in and made this amazing doubles work, which were kind of just on them, and they made these strong women, super strong. And we were at one of the shows in Riverbank, and there was a 6-year-old that was looking at them and just like, they're stronger than my daddy! Shout out! Yes. So they're like tiny ladies, super strong.
And what was great in one of the sharings at the IACC that Lally was in as well, like, because we were so used to doing aerial and whatever, but what she said is it's so great to have that sense of strong women on stage, and then for the children to really share that. And I think also, because for me, I was like a new mum, so to work with a group, all of them were mums, the only person that isn't a mum was Anne. And so it was just that thing of like, that we're making work for children, and that children is part of our lives. And in Iceland they're so open with all of that, and kids are in rehearsals or whatever. It was a real empowering moment for me as an artist, and then for the girls, I think, to come together and the friendship. So that was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it also, what it did for like me and the composer and set designer that I have worked with on all my 4 productions, it gave us a clearer view of how we work. When you kind of end up together with lots of other people, then you realize how you are working by looking at other people. So it gave us a really a push into our next piece that we're funding at the moment. So, and I think we've learned a lot, not only about them but also about ourselves, and that's a super added bonus to the whole thing. So it gave us focus, but yeah.
And I think the only hardest point is for the Icelandic people to be in Ireland and there's no hot water all the time and the heating system, because when you're in Iceland you are warm. So what we'd like to show next is just a short video clip of just the background, because it's all about collaboration, and because we really had each role, an Icelandic person, an Irish person, that cultural exchange was happening musically, choreographically, dance-wise, set and costume-wise. So this is just just before the premiere, or one of our researches.
Yes, the research week. Quinn is trying to get your attention. So that's the set design. Just everybody in their own corner working together. It's in the riverbank. It's the week we had first week in theatre all together, the whole team.
And then the last thing was we just wanted to show you a short edit of Strange Feathers.
Lovely, thank you. I'm sure you will get beautiful photos. Performances are obviously later this week, but I think I'm correct in saying that they're all completely sold out, as are the ones coming up with the arcs. I'm afraid that might be the closest that many of us who haven't seen the show will get to
Pretty
it, but
much,
it looks beautiful.
You know, for the odd delegate we might be able to squeeze you in, contact us, and we'll see. Certainly it's whet everybody's appetite, I think, for that show. So.
Obviously, we'd love to throw this over to the floor and get your questions. I think just for sheer logistics, if you just raise the hand and we'll pick you out, and maybe if you would say both your name and also what either company you represent or what field of practice you're from, whether it's circus arts or whether it's a contemporary dance or theatre. I think it just helps us contextualise the question that you're asking. But if you don't mind, everybody, I'll kick off and just say, when it comes to looking at an international collaboration, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you have an idea for a show that you think, I really want to find an international collaborator to make that show with, or do you meet the international collaborator and the show grows from there?
The second.
Yeah, definitely the second. I think, at least for us, there wasn't. It was just this idea of, I really like this person and we can do something. So it's definitely, and then it just grows from there.
Yeah, we had no idea of the show at all. So it was literally, we just wanted to work together. And when Tinna came over to share what Fidget Feet does so that we can see, and I don't even know how the chicken and the bird and the eggs came into it, but it came from all of us together. Yeah.
So Tinna saw the work with the elves and the shoemaker, and then the discussions happened. It was beyond there that this sort of crystallised and started to take form.
Yeah, I think we had a notebook.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
had
and we just said things that we liked.
And we read
Feathers.
stories or trying to find stories from Iceland or Ireland and also India, because we had some fairy tales or some like what do they call it? You know, like tales from India. So we're also trying to connect that. But that's sometimes also when you start, you're trying to kind of push something onto you, like, okay, we should do something about India because we met there. But then that just vanishes as you go along. So it's just a natural process. When we started, we both like kind of nature and weather, and I think it was something there.
Yeah.
And then it
and because it was bringing Ariel in, it's like, you know, and wanting it to be simple enough and wanting it to be really interactive. So the set designer Gunni really brought a lot of that, because she's been working with Tinna for a really long time. So all of the kind of idea of sitting in the nests and, you know, making the dream thing and the masks at the beginning, like we all had those ideas, but it was really, it's hard to say when one stopped and the other finished, because it was all of us really together. Yeah.
And then just from your presentation there, it struck me that it seemed to be that the support that was received from the Riverbank Arts Centre, but also from the AICC, do you think that was really vital in the success of this project?
Definitely.
So it's really that buy-in from the venues was the real difference between this being successful and not?
Because it's really about having the time in a venue to do the production week, and then also they brought the audience for us, and their interest and love for work for children meant that the relationship with Linda and the venue and Alex, because Linda was off having a baby, so it was with Alex, that's baby, and then just that their real want to do it, so they had to like think outside the box themselves of how can they give us more money. So that's when the exhibition idea came in, and then that became part of our process in Iceland, and the video came out of it. So every partner kind of brought something new, and for Tinna in Iceland to get the partnership in the venue that we did, and all the other, because I said, look, Culture Ireland needs a tour, can you get a tour? Otherwise it might not happen. So then you had to use all your other.
Yeah, because we don't tour much in Iceland, unfortunately. I mean, most of the population is located in a very small area. So we're joking, we took them to a place called Varmalíð, which is the smallest place that nobody's ever there. But it was beautiful because you had the kids from the school coming and looking at the rehearsals of these, which is a lovely experience when you have the whole community just like standing around and paying or watching when you work.
And none of them had seen circus, because me and Tinna went around to their classrooms to explain. So it's kind of imagining culturally going into a different world, and we're bringing stuff the same as Tinna coming into Ireland and learning about each other's, and we're bringing that magic to places that wouldn't ever get it. Yeah,
so that was great.
Anybody got a question that you would like to ask? I love this lovely, really awkward minute at the start. I'm going to shut you up when we get to the end.
I'm Mary Rose Lloyd from the New Victory Theatre in New York, and I was just curious, you said you showed it to teenagers, and I'm just wondering what that was.
Yeah, that was still in a working, during rehearsals. They were actually, it amazed me that how much they followed. It was in that tiny little place in Iceland where the teenagers were. So I think they were mostly in awe of these two ladies and surprised by Jim jumping around. So they were laughing a lot, and it's about 40 minutes, and they kept their focus.
And there was little kids in with them, so it was a real kind of mixture. And we find even now when we're on tour, you'll have the older kid that's there, and at the beginning we're getting the little ones to make the mask, and then it's like, you can make a mask if you want, you don't have to, but you do, and then you turn around and they're like so it's that kind of really lovely feeling of like they're there for their younger sibling or whatever, but they enter into it, because like Jim's playing music live and he's a crazy character, so they've always got something to look at.
Because it's quite a span of age range, isn't it, from 18 months to 7, it's
is.
Really. Yeah. Anyone else would like to? Yes.
Hey, I'm Angie Goff, and I run the Arts Clickers Awards, which is a London-based awards. But anyway, but I've just moved to the Burn, to Fenor, and so have somebody in England doing it, who is my partner basically. Did the Icelandic and the Irish Arts Councils know what was going? Like,
Yeah.
did they actually contact each other? Is there?
Oh, well then, I think it's more just in all of Fidget Feet's application dealings and everything, they would know about it, and it's all about that. It's like the more that you can partner and get co-collaborations, they really like all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Icelandic and the Arts Council would have talked to each other. It's just more that both of them knew what we were doing. Yeah.
And just another one linked to yours. When you don't know what you're going to come up with at the end, how do you ask for funding for a thing that doesn't
The
exist
budget.
yet?
You just, well, because you kind of like get, okay, I'm going to need this amount of time. So like with Tinna in Iceland, because their funding works in a certain way, they could take maybe 2 or 3 months to make a show. In Ireland, I was like, okay, do you think it'd be okay in 3 weeks? So already culturally that's different. And no, so it's like, okay, how are we going to make this work? So we just had a little notebook with all the ideas, but it's like research and development. So it's like, okay, we need the first stage of that. So we would build the research and development budget first, how many performers, blah, 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 how much all that would be. And then, okay, if we're going to make it, how much is that going to cost? And we've got experience with Elves and the Shoemaker. So that was the first thing. So we could both go away and go, okay, what can you get to help? But it's not until we're in the studio together that it happens. So we might have just, and I don't even remember when the name Strange Feathers came.
That came after we started working, after we got the funding, actually, because we had the Irish name that nobody could say.
Oh yeah, the Kilt. Yeah. So we came up with loads in it because you have to have a name. You can't go new show. Yeah. So you had to come up with a name. So even that, none of that was set when we were applying for funding.
And we actually didn't receive the funding from Iceland until like January the same year we premiered. So we premiered in September. So we were already kind of going like, okay, we'll just go ahead anyway and just hope. So we would have done it anyway, but we would have probably been a little bit different show.
Yeah, the quality, everything that's there wouldn't have been there without the amount of funding and time we got. Yeah. So for us as an Irish company, it's the only show I think in the Fidget Feet kind of repertoire that we had so much time to make, and it shows. I
suppose as a company you know your own fundraising potential and what is actually realistic, and then really build from that. Thank you for that. Anyone else would like to ask? Yes, Phil?
Hi, I'm Phil Kingston from the Abbey Theatre. Tell me about the mask making workshop, why you did it, how it works, and what effect it had on how the students could show. Very interesting.
So we, because I think I was already, the ARC had offered me
Training with Hatch.
An artist development for early years. So I was playing with the show at the idea of that idea with caterpillars and butterflies, and I wanted to, and with Elves and the Shoemaker, we kind of did it that the children came on the journey and was in different parts of the venue, and they became part of the story. So I kind of went, that's a winner. If I was a kid, I'd like to do that. So I was playing around with workshops there, and I said it to Tinna. I was like, it'd be a really great thing to do. And then Goonie got into the idea that at the end, the birds put on a mask. So it's like at the beginning, we're like, oh, feathers and birds. And then, because sometimes parents come early and they're like, what am I going to do with my kids? So it's kind of more organic than an actual workshop. So then they can do all of that stuff. And then if the kids get afraid during the show, they can put the little masks on, and then they can watch it through that way. So it's kind of like the idea needed to have a thread the whole way through, otherwise it wouldn't work. So it was just my idea at the beginning of like, let's do something at the beginning, and then...
Yeah, and we always have playtime. My performances, we always have playtime afterwards, where they get to go on stage and touch everything and meet the performers, and so that's a part of what I do. So it kind of, just kind of grew all together. And then, when they put on the masks, a lot of the kids take out their masks, and then they meet afterwards on stage and like, okay, this is my mask, and how are you? So it's like a step-by-step thing.
And at the beginning, it was always like, so we're only doing masks for family shows because that's more manageable. But then now we're doing it for schools, so we have like about 80, 60, 70, 80 kids. You'll see it like when we're here. So we've got punching hole things. So when we leave here, we're going to be making 800 punchy hole masks for these kids. That's how much we love it. But they love it, so it's worth it.
And they get to take it home with them.
Yeah, and that's the thing you see, because they really want to have something. In Elves and the Shoemaker, we did these little postcards and the kids brought them back, and still when we're going to venues, they're going, we still have that postcard, and they're like 9, 10, 11. And so the masks they take home, and then Julianne just added a new thing that we have a little postcard, because at the end they get to play with big feathers and they don't want to give the big feathers back. So now we're like, here's a little postcard and you can draw on the back, and then we'll take that back. So we're learning, because it's like we can't afford to give you the big feathers. We'd love to, but no.
Too many birds.
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark Button from Barra, theatre here in Galway. So will you now, Chantal, take longer to make your work? Has this changed the way you like to make work?
If
Will you be asking for funding to make it?
this is the education of us Irish companies need to help the others. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously we're already hopefully cooking something more together in that way, and I think the funding system in Ireland is, for Fidget Feet, we find it very difficult to get money to make work. So we do make it in a really short period of time, but this kind of way of working, if I can do this more and more and find more partners, that to make a piece of work over 2 months is like heaven, and as I said, the quality.
Okay, that's one. Does it take, does it come a stage in the development where you have to get into the sky, or can you do a lot of work on the ground before you get up into the sky?
Well, I think we start as soon as the girls were with us, because Ariel was going to be. We kind of wanted all the art forms to be equal. Mm-hmm. So when we were in Iceland, the space we were rehearsing in was a dance studio, so we could only do the dance sections. And then later that evening, we went to a gym where there was aerial rigging, so that we did a bit of that. So, but it all kind of grew at the same time. Yeah.
I can't imagine if you've got these ladies in the room with some aerial rigging, you're going to keep them on the ground for very long anyway. Yeah. Paul, did you have a question there?
Yeah, Paul McKinney from Cahusa, and I want you to dish the dirt. Was there artistic challenges? Was there obstacles between the two organisations that you felt? Was there any problems along the way?
Would it be like cultural differences, Paul? Yeah.
No, that's the thing. You see, the first time we met, because I had a bad experience years ago with a co-production.
Oh, you're going to have to dish the dirt on that one.
Yeah, and it's like it ended really badly. So I was really upset about that, and we actually performed that show in Iceland. So the first thing I said to Tinna is like, look, let's really talk about our roles. And I just said, like, I'd rather keep the friendship than the work. The friendship's more important. So if shit comes up, let's deal with it straight away, because I don't want that. And then she's just so easy to be with.
But maybe that's a key point. I was just thinking, is there any like do's and don'ts about international collaboration? Would you say that one is set those parameters really early?
Yeah, because that was my early mistakes, and is just being a bit too, just not knowing, because there's so many different ways you can collaborate. So it's just not knowing what's what. So right from the beginning, we got excited about the reel, and it was so lovely. Like the first time in the dance studio in Iceland, and so we're both learning how to work. So you don't want to be, okay, I'm going to say this now and then. So we were improvising with each other, and the girls were improvising with each other, and Jim was just playing music, and Yolandi was screaming and crying and laughing or whatever, and we were all learning how to.
We're really trying to be humble, at least, like all of us. We're trying to be like polite and humble and a little bit crazy at the same time.
Yeah, and I think what was nice is because, even though I'm a dancer, but Tina's background is really making the dance side, and that was new to me, and then the aerial was really new to Tinna, so sometimes it was really easy. It was like, okay, will you just do that section, and then I'll do that section, and then we'll work together. So it's unique, for sure.
Any other questions, or does anybody have an example of their own international collaboration that they would like to share?
Nice.
Gosh,
Lots of room for development.
Absolutely.
But I can say that the hardest thing is just because, if you're saying like cultural differences, the thing is that Fidget Feet, because you tour so much, you're so used to sitting in the car, and you have so long days that we don't in Iceland. Yeah. So you sit in the car a lot. So the thing about North Iceland and Varmalli was a joke, kind of also to bring them there, because we were working in the riverbank just outside Dublin, and we were staying in Mount Mellick, which is like a tiny place with nothing but pubs and churches. And so it was so we were always driving 45 minutes like each way, and we found it's kind of
funny, hilarious, and annoying, but still have such great time in the car. So, you know, I took them to the most remote little town I could find in Iceland.
So we
that
had
was
to
a
sit in the
revenge.
car.
Yeah, but the weather was great, and it all looked beautiful, and, you know, in good company, you know, every place is nice.
Yeah.
If I could just make an observation as well, it's just looking at the presentation and looking at the list of those involved. It's a very, very equally split collaborative team, like with the creative team or from both countries. And I don't think that's always the case when it comes to international collaboration. Do you think that was key to the success?
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually in the beginning when we started it. We thought that the Icelandic composer and set designer, they weren't going to be such a big part of it. We were just going to bring them in the end, because they also had babies. So, and you know, and they at the same time as Chantal. So, but then we met for the first time in Iceland, and it's something, and I believe everybody would do this as an artist. You know, you say yes to something, and you don't want it to be just a little bit. You know, then you want to go all in. So the Riverbank week, where we were all together in the working week, they weren't supposed to be there, but we just decided, okay, you're going to come anyway. We'll find the money, and that was, I think, the most crucial thing, that we could all work together in the theatre. So it kind of also evolved, like along the way, when we realized how we had to do this.
Guys, any more questions? Yes?
Did you only work when you were together in a physical space, or was there a lot of WhatsApping and Skyping?
More about the budgets and time, you know, more
Admin
about
stuff.
all that you know, more that kind of stuff. We would have done a lot of that. But I think maybe the girls, in a way, like before we would have met, the girls separately in their own countries would have prepared like stuff until that we met. But I think because we're both improvisers, so we kind of create in that way. So we had to the show didn't really develop until we were together. Yeah.
And would you like to work together again in the future, or is it too soon?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we have just a few minutes left, but I think we have time for another couple of questions if there's any on the floor. Yes?
Hi, my name is Eibhlín McCarthy, and I am an independent artist, an actor and a facilitator. And I'm wondering if you, both choreographers, in terms of the day and how I suppose I work as an actor in a theatre mostly, and it's like two directors in the room. I'm just wondering, could you maybe talk a little bit about how that works for you guys in that process? And maybe this is a question for the
dancers, yeah. If you don't mind, girls, yeah, because you were
literally like, how does that work? Thank you.
It was really complimentary, actually, because I would have imagined, when I thought about it, that having two directors in the room or two choreographers would have been quite stressful, but it was really complimentary. It's also because they have different fields. Chantal with Ariel and Tinna on the floor. Okay. There's also like we get different bits from them. And they fed off each other as well. So we might start an improvisation and we'll say, okay, you're cold. We'll start there. And then something starts to develop, and then Chantal might say, oh, you just hatched. And then you're a bird. And it's just the two of them would build on top of each other. So it was always just really, it just made sense every step. Instead of, there was never a time where you get opposite information from both of them. Or if you did, if one said something and the other said the opposite, they'd both like, we said the opposite.
I said that was saying, isn't that gas? Do you mind?
And then we would have like a conversation as well. But it was always this moment of like, there might be a moment in the piece that's just not gelling, and we both be like, so we both make sure that we'd sit in different parts of the circle, and we'd have our little notebooks and whatever, and then we'd talk to each other, and then there'd be a moment of like, what if this? Yeah, and then what if that? I think we have it, and then we would try it. So it was really just that. And also what was great, because Tina's worked so much with Solrin, she's an amazing composer, she would be here, but she's a little bit ill at the moment. They just had that kind of gel. And so like Tinna and her really worked. And then for Jim, because he's normally the person that creates the music for Fidget Feet, but he was just the performer. So he had this outside kind of musical director supporting him as well. So it felt like we were all feeding each other and we were all learning. And
It must be lovely as a choreographer that when you have those moments of where you reach that little impasse, to have another creative mind in the room and to sort of get your way through it. It must be a lovely.
So organic, what it sounds like. You're literally playing together, which is so unique.
working very hard,
Guys, I think we've time for one last question. Yes?
Jennifer Allen, Elemental Limerick Arts Festival. This is for Chantal, I suppose. With Riverbank, had you had a relationship or a history with them? How did that become such a key role? Because
Yeah.
get a venue to be so, or
Well, because Fidget Feet's been basically touring Ireland since 1998, and we wouldn't be here only for the venue managers and the arts officers of Ireland. You know, before anyone else supported us, they were the people that gave us the support. So we had taken some shows to Riverbank, and then our work just got too big that we couldn't fit it in there. So we know the venues that really are interested in early years work, like the Arc and Riverbank and Draocht and Linen Hall, like all of these places. So as a company, I would always be like, okay, who can I approach? And then I'd be asking them all, are you interested? And then it depends on what their plans are and if they are. So, you know, I'd throw it out there and just see and hope that someone bites. But Linda was very happy to take Fidget Feet back because we hadn't been there for a long time. And so it was kind of like that. And yeah, like the venue managers in Ireland are amazing people, and it's really hard work for them 365 days of the year. So when a company comes to them that wants to work with them and help them to get audiences, and I'm constantly like thinking of like, how can I make it easier for them? So stupidly I came up with the idea to double bill Hang On and Strange Feathers on a 14 venue tour. Myself and Lee and Jim was performing Hang On in the evening, and during the day was 2 shows of Strange Feathers, which was the 2 girls and me pottering around and Jim performing with a new baby. But it worked to an extent. I won't be doing that again. But I just was worried for the venues because it was early years and it might have been harder to sell, that if I gave them another option that they could bring in a little bit more income. But what actually happened is that the children's stuff sold much easier than the contemporary aerial dance because it's hard to get that. So I've kind of learned as a company in Ireland that our children's work, we can go to lots of venues, and maybe our contemporary aerial dance adult stuff, we might just go to 4 or 5 and really build that audience. Yeah, so it's all about the audience. We want to be in a position where we're performing with lots of people in the audience, so the more we can help the venues. And I guess that's why then when I pick up the phone to any venue person, they're not like, oh God, well, some of them might be, oh, it's her again asking for more. But more or less it's about building, those partnerships. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, listen, thank you, everybody. What we'll do is, I'm sure Chantal and Tinna won't mind continuing that conversation outside in the lobby. We will ask everybody to make your way out there now while we set up for the next thing. But just join me right now just in thanking Chantal and Tinna.